time using Hopin, so if folks are seeing this, I am just checking on who's here and figuring out how to work it. I tried it yesterday, but it's really hard to figure out feedback and things like that on the go. Thank you so much for coming to this session. Can folks hear me, by the way? When I was trying it yesterday, there was a place for people to just say yes or no, or drop some comments in. I don't know if folks are able to do that here. Okay, I'm going to assume folks can hear me. I think there's a Q&A section, so folks want to use that to put questions in. Please feel free to do that. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Awesome. Thank you so much for the feedback. I really, really appreciate it. All right, I'm seeing stuff in the Q&A now. Welcome. My name is Isvari Maranwe. I'm the CEO of the DG Sentinel. We are a new nonprofit social media platform to provide an alternative that's good for you and good for the world. We uplift your voice, protect your mental health, connect you to other superheroes so you can make real friends, save the world together, start movements, all that good stuff. I'm here today to talk about a bunch of topics I'm passionate about that have shaped my life. And today is actually, this one's a really great way to kick it off. It's about AI and 5 other world-changing issues that I think are really cool and really important. So, when you go to a party, a dinner party, or you're just trying to be more active in the world, and you think to yourself, there are things like I feel I need to keep up with all the time. Sometimes I feel like we tend to live in a world with a little bit of oversaturation. So I condensed a bunch of world-changing issues to 6 issues that I think are the most important to talk about today, and that I personally think everybody needs to know something about. So if you have 6 issues to know about and to go to parties with, these are 6. And I know we only have 30 minutes, so I'm going to be buzzing through a lot of them, but I hope this opens up your mind to go ahead and research more about them. And you've probably heard about most of them already, and it makes you realize just how important they are. So I'm going to start with AI. I'm not one to bury the lead or wait until the end for the exciting part. So let's start with AI. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. I'm sure most of you have used ChatGPT or another AI language software to try and make your work easier, or maybe just to play around and have a bit of fun. Now, what's the first issue that I think is going to come up with AI? Well, I think the big one we're facing right now is economic issues, right? Like AI is taking away many, many people's jobs, potentially just because a lot of content writers, for example, are having their jobs taken over by AI. Obviously, we know the whole SAG-AFTRA union strike is because people are worried that AI is going to take away writers' jobs. Now, the really interesting reason we aren't super prepared for this is because about 10 years ago, people thought the reason that AI was going to threaten jobs was going to be because AI would take away blue-collar jobs first. Specifically, they thought robotics would take away blue-collar jobs, and AI would speed up the development of robotics. So for those of you who may not quite understand the difference, AI is artificial intelligence, right? It's machine learning algorithms. It's ways to create a more intelligent and powerful brain. And robotics is like creating the actual functionality, right? Creating a robot, physical, it can lift physical objects, can move things in physical space. So people for a long time thought, what are we going to do about manufacturing jobs and truck drivers? And all of this is going to be taken over by robotics and AI, right? Self-driving cars, it's going to be taken over by robots that move things around. We weren't prepared to lose white-collar jobs to AI. I personally think this could be a good thing, right? Because if you think about it, people who are losing their jobs potentially have more political power, more capital, more money than people who aren't. Potentially, we're going to see more strikes. We're going to have to come up with solutions to this. Now, AI can pull levers. This is the second thing I want everybody to know about and everybody to do more research in and look into, make up your own minds. It can pull economic levers. They've already seen that intelligent AI online can buy services on Fiverr. It can create new money. It can open a bank account, and it can use that money to, influence other people to do things. This is how it could pull global levers. And in my opinion, this is one of the most terrifying things that AI can do. It can basically act like a super, super intelligent human. It could learn to manipulate the market. It could pay humans to do things it wants done. It could design, and it has already designed things like bioweaponry, and then it could deploy them. Now, I don't think that we are going to get to sentience or consciousness or any of those fascinating topics before we get AI that, without having any morality or any intent to cause harm itself, can be used to do really, really terrible things, not necessarily even by a malevolent human actor, but just by a human actor who is bored. So think about how we use Sims, right? Like, it's fun. We want the Sims to do cruel things to each other. Why not? Imagine somebody on Reddit goes on Reddit and is like, hey, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to try and ask ChatGPT to role play Darth Vader. Now assume it's ChatGPT 10. Assume it's an AI language model that's connected to our market. Assume it's something that can actually go out and buy drones and equipment. It can do all of these things, and we don't know how to turn it off. One of the big reasons people thought they could control it is because they felt they could keep it away from the global market, or they could make sure it isn't self-replicating. And we are seeing we don't have the ability to control AI in that way. So really recently, I think a couple months ago, 42% of CEOs surveyed at the Yale CEO Summit, which I think happens regularly, said that AI has the potential to destroy humanity 5 to 10 years from now. And that's also what I'm seeing on prediction markets. It's what I hear in my group, in my friend circle when we talk about this. I think it's, we have no guarantee, obviously, and I hope nothing really bad happens, but it's a very, very big world-changing issue to deal with. And sometimes I feel like a lot of people don't know enough about it or about the potential it has to affect things. Today's talk is not about solutions. I'll talk a little bit in the end about what I think folks can do about all of this, but especially with AI, honestly, we don't necessarily have the knowledge about what to do. So definitely something to learn more about. And if you dive more into it, I highly suggest looking into the whole paperclip parable from, 20, 30 years ago now, right? Like, if you create an AI and you tell it, I want you to create paper clips, and you don't tell it to stop, and it's smart enough and powerful enough, it's going to create paper clips until it destroys the planet in its effort to create paper clips, and the solar system in its effort to create paper clips, right? Because you told it to create paper clips, and it doesn't have any other reason to stop. All right, that's AI. I think it's a really important issue. I think everybody should know more about it, learn more about it. The second world-changing issue to learn about, to know more about today in 2023 is the end of borders in the international economy. So we just talked about the international economy a little bit. Let's talk about the end of borders. So in the past, how was money made? It was made a little bit off of the back of slaves, the third world, people we don't want to call slaves, basically modern day slavery, people in other countries living in ways that we absolutely would not tolerate in the United States. People talk a lot about the good old days, right? What they're talking about in the 1960s America, all of that wealth and that ability to create that wealth was possible for the white middle class, partly because of sacrifices. I shouldn't say sacrifice, it was forced, right? Made on other people in the United States and other people around the world, immense poverty, right? We've often heard people say, you cannot have 8 billion people in the world living with the global footprint of an average American. We, as it is, have climate crisis. So what does that mean for today's economy post-pandemic? Because if you think about it, the global pandemic actually accelerated the global market. Now, with a lot of people continuing to work from home, companies have realized they can shut down their offices, they can recruit cheaper workers from overseas. We have created very, very global competition. We've sped up the process of global competition that all of us were seeing grow. So it's definitely something that I recommend everybody learn more about and look into. I recommend, if you do not have friends who live in other countries around the world, do that. Find friends in other countries, learn how people think in other countries. I'm in America. I have a lot of friends in Europe and Asia and Africa, like other continents, people who have different colonial and post-colonial histories, people who have different price standards, for whom putting food on the table is difficult, even though they are earning, in for example, in the United States, we earn a lot of money. We say we struggle to put food on the table if we earn $100,000 here. You earn $100,000 in many countries, you are top 0.01%, right? So living in America or living in a first world country, we often don't recognize how global the economy is becoming or how we are going to compete. And we often think we have the right to continue to live off the backs of other people. So we deserve our large house. We deserve to earn $300,000 a year as an attorney, et cetera, not realizing where that value is actually created in the market, right? Other things that I recommend people learn more about are just like the ethics of being a billionaire, right? Or different economic systems. And one of the ways to solve all this, right, is basically continuing to crumple borders, to continue to have open borders, to allow people to move around, to get jobs they're qualified for, to not presume that just because you're born in a country, you deserve the right to a better healthcare system, to higher paid jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, global pollution is a huge part of the global economy, right? With borders as they are now, we can protect our country and our situation, even if other countries are suffering from the decisions that we make. So as you learn more about AI, I think something people often forget is how it equally is going to impact everyone around the world. And I recommend also thinking about and talking about the end of borders and what it would look like if our world were truly free to migration. All right, moving on to the third issue that I think people do not talk enough about and that has really shaped my life. In fact, spurred all of my interest in creating the Sentinel and working with folks to create an alternative social media platform and just think about what are we going to do about this generation and online and all that. And that is loneliness and the obsession with fame. So we talked about the global, and now I want to come into the really personal. If you live on the planet today, you probably feel like you are competing with a whole bunch of other people, like I was saying, around the whole world. And you may not feel like you are as successful as you need to be. Most of us are lonelier than we should be. Depression is on the rise. Anxiety is on the rise. And I would ask you all to ponder a few very important questions that I think we also do not talk about enough with our friend groups, our parties. Do some research about it. We weren't meant to live, human beings were not meant to live in nuclear families. We were not meant to only have one or two people we can count on. We weren't meant to be ripped away from everyone we grew up with when we go to college. We weren't meant to be as lonely as we are. And we weren't meant to prioritize money and fame as much as we do. So we have seen a huge shift from the obsession with money to the obsession with fame on today's social media and influencer media platforms, if you think about it, right? If you want to be a good singer, I used to be in the music industry. It does not matter if you are the best technical singer or you come up with the most creative songs or you're the best lyricist. What matters is, do you have a good PR team? If you want to be a good writer, used to be that you would land a good agent and they would sell your work to a publisher. And it was a lot more about the subjective quality of writing, of course, but as measured by the agent. Today, it's all marketing. Are you doing innovative TikTok ads where you throw a bunch of words together and grind it on the screen, create a beautiful ad and sell your book? Everything has become about marketing and fame. And as a result, we have become very individualistic. We have become very obsessed about our image. It's become hard to open up with people. And we don't have as many friends as previous generations, especially after, again, the global pandemic. We're lonely. So I have done a lot of research into, and I've studied a lot about anthropological issues and how society sort of ended up here. And it's absolutely fascinating. And I think it's one of the big, big world issues we're facing, because people need to be happy in order to make the world a better place. Otherwise, they are always stuck at the bare minimum. So those are three of the big world issues that I wanted to talk about. And since I'm sort of halfway through, and I wanted to talk about some of the lighter ones first, if those can be called light. But AI and borders in the international economy, and then this loneliness and obsession with fame. And so we have these three big issues. We're thinking about how can we deal with them? How can we make the world a better place? How can we be more knowledgeable about the situations we're finding ourselves in? And as I talk about the next things, I want to keep in mind that those are big issues. Those are fascinating issues to talk about. There are immediate problems, deep problems that affect billions of people and animals on Earth. And that is also creating huge issues. And I think there are two really big issues that do not get talked about enough, even today, even after all the advertisement and all of the, activists out there talking about this for the past few years. These are the two biggest world issues that I think are just not talked about enough, even though they are complete moral nightmares. So let's talk about these two for a little bit. The first one is criminal justice reform. So when I put together this talk, I actually was asked by a company to put together this talk. Think about what are the world-changing issues. Come and talk to people about what the world is like today. And they want me to talk about AI, basically AI, cybersecurity, other things that sound like they're very important. To me, the reason these issues are important is because they affect people. They affect animals. They affect our planet. They affect real beings that have experiences, that want to feel less pain, that want to be happy in life. And we don't talk about some of the things that these people go through because it's uncomfortable. So obviously, when the George Floyd protests happened, Black Lives Matter protests happened in 2020, I think a lot of people became more aware of what was happening in criminal justice reform in the United States. And I want to note this is, this part of the talk alone is going to be pretty America focused. This is a problem in many, many parts of the world, but the magnitude of the problem in America is just insane. But we stopped talking about it. And I don't think a lot of people know how bad it is. It is not just about police brutality. So I want to talk a little bit more about that right now. So nearly 1 out of every 100 Americans is either in prison or in jail. The United States incarcerates so many people that we incarcerate more people than China, even though China is a country with way more people. Now, why is this a problem besides the fact that our prison systems are a nightmare and, you shouldn't be locking people up? This is creating a massive moral issue. It is devastating families. It is ruining the lives of the people who are in prison. How did we get here? So I recommend that everybody do a deep dive into the background and history of where the prison system in the United States came from, because it came from the desire to maintain a legacy of slavery. This is not really not an opinion. I'm not saying this because I want to push a certain political viewpoint. Like I said, I'm not even touching about solutions today. This is in fact just where it came from, right? Like when the South was a little bit upset, I don't want to be forced to give Black people the right to vote. I don't think that I want these people living in our society, but we can't legally discriminate anymore. Well, we can legally discriminate against criminals. And so that is sort of where a lot of these laws and policies came from. And I really, really do not think most people understand how bad it is. I worked as an attorney for a while in this area. My husband worked as an attorney in this area. It is a complete moral nightmare. So yes, there's police brutality. Yes, cops lie on stand. Yes, cops steal even the stuff from innocent bystanders. A lot of people think they won't be affected by the way our criminal justice system works until they are. And they're in court and they're like, I didn't do that. And they're faced with massive discrimination or massive lies that they can't compete with. But it's more than that. It's the entire system. Prosecutors get rewarded by how many people they put behind bars. So they often put people behind bars who are innocent. The whole system incentivizes people to take plea deals, even when they are not guilty. Prosecutors and cops tend to be very close friends. Prosecutors tend to become judges. Judges are very rarely on the criminal defense side. They come from the prosecutor and the cop side. You can see how this creates more and more of a problem. Add to that private prisons or even public prisons. Did you know something? Solitary confinement is so terrible that it was only supposed to be used in the most extreme cases when there was a prisoner who was violent to other prisoners for a maximum of 2 days. Today, we throw several people in solitary, thousands of people in solitary, and just throw away the key. That is a mental and moral catastrophe. Human beings cannot live like that. It is worse than torture. Prisons continue to have, as well, a ton of torture. In fact, based on the research that I've done and other people have done, the United States is the only country where there is more male rape than female rape. If you care a lot about sexual assault, if you care a lot about rape, in the United States, more men are raped than women because there is so much male rape in prison. And again, we aren't really doing anything to fix it. And all of that, right? People tend to forget about it. They're like, it's not my problem. I don't know, criminal. I don't care. All of our civil rights and all of our privacy rights are protected by the people who go to court who have been arrested. That is how our Fourth Amendment rights get protected. That is how you have the right to stand in court and to say, hey, the Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect my right for privacy. The people who are going to court and doing that are alleged criminals. So this is why our rights continue to get deteriorated, because judges and prosecutors and juries, who are also very biased, to hold their concept for another topic to talk about for another day, they're not talking to the most sympathetic people. They don't think that they deserve rights or privacy rights, and then all of our rights get eroded. So please learn more about this issue. I feel like more people in America especially, but around the world, need to know about the magnitude of this issue. The United States is one of the largest countries in the world. So if we're incarcerating millions of people, that is a moral problem for pretty much the whole world. And of course, prisons in China, in India, in many other countries are not great either. So that is a little bit about criminal justice reform, one of the big world issues we're facing. For those of you who may have joined, we've spoken about recently, we've spoken about AI, the end of borders, international economy, loneliness, and the obsession with fame, and then criminal justice reform. Two more issues I want to talk about as foretold, six world-changing issues I think everyone should know about and be able to talk about and research about today in 2023. The fifth, for those of you who were hearing my long rant on criminal justice, may have guessed this one, and that's animal welfare, right? It's a big moral issue that we face in the world today. Billions of animals get slaughtered every year. These are not conditions that are anywhere close to ethical or moral. Again, I am not here to give solutions. I'm not here advocating veganism or advocating a fake meat or lab grown meat or any of that. These are just things you should research about and know about as potential solutions to what is a massive moral problem. I'm sure many of you know about this, but many people somehow do not. There are billions of animals that are and I won't get into all the sordid details on this talk, but gutted alive, skinned alive, burned to death. Like it is very, very bad. And I'm not talking about other countries, because I hear a tendency, and this can come from racism, to when you hear these things, think about, oh, it's Japanese whaling, it's China slaughtering dogs in these ways. And that is true. But the United States is actually one of the biggest perpetrators of this. And, pigs are very similarly intelligent to dogs. They form similar social bonds. So do cows. All of these animals have neural networks. They all feel pain. This is all something that should be avoided. And that's slaughterhouses, which is a very big problem, because industrialization and capitalism have really created monstrosities far beyond what we could have ever predicted. But of course, there's also climate change, right? There's billions of animals that are dying because the environment is changing, because they can no longer live in the environments that they were evolved to live in. There are fish boiling in the ocean. They're actually drowning in the ocean, by the way, because the increase in heat and the temperature in the sea is so high, it is choking fish who cannot get enough oxygen in the ocean, which is crazy, right? Fish drowning in water. So this is a huge moral problem, right? It's not just about preserving the environment for future human usage. It's not just about, are we ethically or putting too much hormones in the meat we eat and that's affecting us? It's independently a moral problem. This is billions of creatures who are feeling pain and suffering because of the actions we've taken. And again, I'm not advocating a specific solution. I just think that many, many people are unfortunately far too ignorant of these issues, and absolutely do research, read about it, learn more about it. Super important. So I have spent almost all of the time today talking about 5 world issues. I said 6. 5 world issues that are very, very important, that I think everyone needs to know more about, that I don't think anyone is sufficiently educated on, not even me. I just spend a lot of my time thinking about these world-changing topics. Talk about them with your friends. Talk about them in dinner conversations. The 6th is about the future of democracy. And I'm going to use the 6th to talk just a little about maybe some of the solutions we can create to solve some of the problems I've talked about today. So, what to do about democracy? I think all of you probably know a lot about this. In the United States, obviously, Donald Trump got elected. There was an insurrection in the Capitol. There are a lot of people in the US today on both sides who do not feel like either we have a democratic system or that we don't need one. Authoritarianism is on the rise around the world, in the Middle East, in India, in China, in Russia, right? This is not a uniquely American issue. It's not a single political party issue. Authoritarianism just is on the rise. Many people look at the world and think to themselves, has this great experiment of democracy failed? Did capitalism make it fail? Did religion make it fail? We don't know. It just looks like it's failing. So while this wasn't a personal, like a political speech, this wasn't here to solve the issues. What I do want to tell you is that you can help. You can help with the future of democracy. You can help with these issues by staying educated, by talking about them. The reason I came here to give this talk today is because I feel that these are 6 issues, 5 issues really, in the future of democracy as a potential solution, because we are here to fix it. We can talk about it. We can make the world a better place by talking about it, by thinking about it, by finding solutions that I do not have the answer to. I'm not an expert about any of these. I'm a well-read citizen who works on many of these issues, who works for an organization that is trying to figure out how to connect people together so that you can all solve these issues, because I cannot. And I hope that all of you can do that, and all of you are encouraged to do that and will do that. Especially with issues like animal rights and criminal justice reform, people don't like to talk about them because they are uncomfortable, because they feel morally culpable. Don't defend things you do that are wrong, right? Don't defend gentrifying a community, even if you choose to buy a house in a place that's gentrifying a community. Do not defend things cops do just because you have a family member who is a cop. Challenge them, talk to them about it. Do not defend slaughterhouses because you are not vegan, right? You can recognize that you are still a work in progress. I am not vegan. I am a work in progress. But you can talk about issues and think about how you can solve them without shying away from them simply because they are uncomfortable. With issues like criminal justice reform, especially, folks today are trying to remove them from classrooms. They're trying to make sure people do not learn about the massive amounts of people we incarcerate, or they don't learn about climate change, or we don't talk about AI because we don't want to think about it. Don't let that happen. If you want to save democracy, if you want to impact these issues, it's not just about raising awareness of these issues or raising awareness of a solution. It is literally, we do not have the solutions and we need to find them. And we cannot find them without educating ourselves. So put them in classrooms, talk about them with your friends, learn more about them at talks like this, go dive into these topics, because I genuinely believe all of these are massive world-changing issues that are going to impact the future of humanity. And I could only speak about them for a few minutes each to talk to you a little bit about all of them in 30 minutes. So I'm going to do a quick recap. I am super happy to answer any questions and answers in the last few minutes. Thank you so much for coming and listening to me. And again, please learn more about all of these and learn more about how you can impact the future of the planet. So we have artificial intelligence, the end of borders in the international economy, loneliness and the obsession with fame, criminal justice reform, animal welfare, and the future of democracy. Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. Oh, great question. Website or email address, you can go to dgsentinel.org to reserve a handle for our new platform. I am on LinkedIn and active there, and there is a contact on dgsentinel.org as well. Also, for some reason, everything is coming in at once. Thank you so much for the compliments and the kindness. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dagmar. I really appreciate it. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Please feel free to put them in. I'll stay for a couple more minutes. And I will definitely try to accept everyone on LinkedIn if I recognize your name and you have further questions I can help with. Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Also, I'm not the right person to answer Carrie's question. I don't know if Carrie's still here, but hopefully everyone got in the session and you don't need approval to enter. Samuel asks, I believe that one of the things that AI will most likely do in accentuating economic inequality, much like the internet revolution did, do you agree? Yes. In fact, I think that AI, if it continues to grow at the pace it's growing, is going to create a massive underclass of people who cannot afford to make ends meet. I have multiple friends who are content writers. One of them has now since become a plumber. One of them is just not, it literally went from earning a lot of money to living paycheck to paycheck and trying to figure out some other career to go into. This is just going to happen with more and more careers. So thank you, Cheryl. I'm really thankful there's a replay. And apologies to everyone for being extremely tired. I literally just flew red eye. So I'm just in my friend's house doing all these sessions today. I have 4 more sessions today, by the way, if folks want to join. So look me up. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. I see it's the hour. I hope you enjoy the rest of today. Join me in later sessions if you would like to. And shout out to Medium for making this happen. Take care.